I'm Stuart Thompson, editor of Digital TV Europe. I'm here with Joe Foster, who is CEO and founder of Easel TV. Joe, there's a lot of growth in the OTT TV market. How much growth do you see, and how much fragmentation do you see developing within that market?
For us at Easel, it's kind of clear that fragmentation would work very well. Obviously, we're an OTT supplier, and I do see it happening a lot more than I did previously, I would say. In the sense that for me at one time it seemed that sort of 80% of viewing that come traditionally from broadcast television in terms of BBC One, ITV and so on would somehow migrate to an OTT equivalent, as in Amazon, Netflix and Google, etc. And I still see that, you still see that happening with them commissioning their own content and taking BBC content and so on. But even at that level you're starting to see fragmentation with the likes of HBO and Disney and so on doing their own thing. At the 20% level, in terms of the 300 odd channels of broadcast TV that you see make up the long tail in a broadcast environment, I do see the equivalent happening in an OTT world. There's so much to offer in an OTT environment and so much more you can do, so many more immersive worlds you can create. That I see that as being the sort of next big thing, and I don't think there's been an extensive amount of commissioning down that route of OTT channels, if you like, and I think there's a huge opportunity there. So that's something we're looking at, and we're hoping we can help the market with.
Great. And what do you think are the main factors that are driving content owners to go down that OTT route?
Yeah, so there's a mix here. There's some obvious ones like binge watching, where box sets available on demand are just becoming a very attractive proposition. But I think there's a more fundamental shift, and that fundamental shift I think is associated with the way people are living. At one time, I would like everyone else looking to do OTT services would say, well, an on-demand world is so much more enjoyable in the sense that you can watch it when you want to watch it on which device you want to watch it. But actually, that turns out to be even that's limited by what I think we're actually seeing. And by that I mean when you look at Generation Z and you look at the way people actually share content, the on-demand format plays even better to the way in which people live. In the past, when you wanted to share something that you enjoyed from a watching perspective, you tended to talk about the channel it was on, the day it was on, the date it was on. And I think the next generation don't do any of that. They simply share a link and say, oh, have you seen this? Wow. And I think when you have that level of interaction, on demand works so much better because it's immediate, it's in the moment, and you can watch it there and then. It's not like, have you seen this? You missed it last night. Or you need to book it for 2 days hence, in which either of those are likely to not be immediately engaging. Whereas a social media world, I think, will start to create, if you like, an EPG for OTT services, and I think that will be very compelling.
Yeah. Now, YouTube remains sort of the main online platform for video. To what extent do you think YouTube can act as a kind of gateway for OTT providers?
Yeah, gateway is a good word. I really think that's where it will end up. At the moment, though, it's quite interesting because I think YouTube actually fulfills the long tail of OTT. And I think we see Twitter and Facebook vying for that as well with their video platforms. My belief, though, is ultimately these are such good social media platforms that they're not really designed for a long-form entertainment channel, if you like. I think they take too much away from the brand owners. They take too much away from the content owners. Take too much revenue. They take too much of their brand control. They potentially take too much of the security of their content in terms of content protection. I think there's a lot more to be said for using YouTube, using Twitter and Facebook and social media as a long-form generator of an audience, and then taking that audience and transitioning it to a customer. And that's a very, I use those words really carefully because I see an audience as being something as you would have had as a broadcaster, where you don't actually know what they're doing with your content, what time they watched it, and how much they enjoyed it to some extent. Whereas as a customer, which you can create in OTT, you know everything about them. You know what they watched, when they watched it, how they got there, whether any promotions were key. When you change the position of your product in the lineup, you can instantly see the reaction of that. There's so much detail, there's so much analytics we're capable of presenting within OTT that I think it just starts to create a different level of opportunity. And I think if you then take a mass audience that you can create in something like YouTube and move that audience to a client base on your own platform, then I think it starts to get really interesting, because I think there's a really rich vein of gold to be mined, if you like, in that space.
I think you've answered it to some extent, but just what does the content owner need to do to maximise the advantage of the reach of YouTube, and then what steps do they need to take to transition to their own OTT services? I
don't think there's anything wrong in starting a process of generating an audience purely with an OTT, with a YouTube channel, and not having any OTT play, just discovering whether that interest is there. Ultimately, I think the opportunity and transitioning presents a lot of, there's a lot of good strategic things you can do. So, for example, start to move towards short form content that is exciting in terms of its trailer or in terms of its anticipation, and moving the long form content to an OTT service. Something like generating exclusives or previews of content only on an OTT service, but again driving that interest from YouTube. And I also think the opportunity to potentially even have long-form content in social media formats, such as the first episode or the first series even, which is then only available on the OTT platform. Ultimately, you can generate so much more revenue, so many more ways of monetizing service, so many facets to an OTT service in your own environment, and so much more brand control, that it does make sense that if you can actually generate that audience, why wouldn't you try to monetize it in a much better way in your own environment? So I think there's that. I also think there's actually an opportunity if you have the right OTT platform, you're working with the right OTT service provider, something that I'll talk a little bit, if I get the opportunity, about what we're doing to do that. If you can do that quickly, if you can generate a channel very quickly, there's an opportunity in a sort of pop-up channel sense. So where you once would have had something like the concept of a pilot, and you might, for example, want to, a film will do this today. They'll generate a microsite associated with that pilot. But I think we can get to the point where you can actually generate a micro channel associated with that opportunity, right down to an individual show level, but certainly series, episode, and obviously lifestyle, food, golf, shopping, and genres associated with that long tail opportunity. And I think those, even at a brand level, creating pop-up channels is something I think we'll see in the future. Yeah. Great.
Now, marketing is obviously key to this. What are the marketing kind of elements that OTT providers need to include in the platform they use, and what does Easel TV bring to the party? What do you provide that enables them to get this right?
Yeah, I completely agree. Marketing will be a very significant factor in how you get this right. I think just before that, in the sense of you can have all the marketing features and functionality within your product, within your OTT product, to enable a channel to come alive. But if you're still building that OTT service, fundamentally, you're going to miss the opportunity. So one of the key things I think that you need to do is to make sure that functionality is, if you like, an inherent part of a service that's already put together. So we don't think in the concept of building a client's OTT service. The service is already built. It's a multi-tenant, a SaaS service that is already running. All we do is effectively take the brand's branding and their content, and literally create that channel as an account. It's just another account on the service that already has a lot of consumers on it. I think that's the first thing that's key, because you need to be able to do this quickly, and you need to be able to do it effectively, economically, and you need to be able to tie it in to this ecosystem. So let's get to that ecosystem. That ecosystem is really very much about marketing. We look at kind of 4 key areas of that, which is to enable people to get hooked into that social media circle and drive traffic to your OTT platform. So that's very much about SEO, but we're also looking at making sure the content can be exposed at a level in Apple TV or in Amazon Fire TV at their menu level. We're also looking at enabling coming soon or features and functionality that can actually generate some marketing buzz. Then we look at what we call enabling that. So these are the tools within our own product itself. When you get to, so we can do banners at both a product level and at a service level. So you can use that to generate sponsorship or advertising, but you can also use it to generate promotions, clickable banners, and so on. We're looking at previews that we also, pre-rolls that we also use not just for advertising, but also for stings and promotions and trailers, which allow you to do that, and various other marketing tools that we think are very important, like vouchering, that we think are key to actually then enabling that service. You can then start to issue vouchers out, distribute them via social media, and get that circle going. We then look at the idea of enabling from a consumer perspective, and this is basically about the UI, the UX, the customer journey. So we have a nice award-winning UIs. Although we do use templates to create that speed to market, we think that's important. We do have certain features and functionality. So the consumer, we can for instance enable SEO and social media feeds at a product level, at a collection or box set level, at a menu level. So you can start to actually, when you're immersed in that content, you can actually start to generate that circle again back to get, if you like, the OTT EPG of social media to drive traffic back to the product. And then finally, of course, big data and analytics is a key part of what you need to do to see whether you're successful, what you need to change, and when you make those changes, how effective those changes will be. And again, that drives that full circle. And we've worked hard to get a rich set of analytics at both the product level and also at the whole service level, and then through various things like campaigns and payment systems, you can see how effective these, and at a device level, how effective a device will be, and so on. I think in some respects that summarizes exactly how powerful OTT is, because it does give you all those enablers, and that's something we've been keen to bring out in our product.
Well, there certainly seems to be a lot still to do in the OTT market and a lot of opportunity there. Joe, thanks very much.
Thank you, Stuart.